Raze chaos. Or don't. I don't give a fuck what you do.
And welcome back, everybody. My name is Raze Chaos. You've made it back to my channel, and this is the second pin video Raze has made since he said no more Pinbit videos. I don't know why. I don't know why I said that. I don't know why I said this will be my last video. Primarily because I only had like, I think 2 pins at the time. I think I just put the prints up, and I don't remember what the other ones were, but I'm pretty sure I only had like 2 pins to add to the board, give or take. But like at the time, there's 2 or 3 pins that I put up on that video. I had no more, and I was pretty sure I wasn't. I was hesitant to say it was going to be the last one because I knew I was going to do Christmas shopping, and I knew I was going to end up with some pins. And sure enough, given the gifts that I had gotten for Christmas, combined with the pins that I picked up while I was Christmas shopping, yeah, I ended up making the biggest pin video that I had done up to that point, because I usually do 5. And I said, okay, well, that's... I did a lot. I did more than 5, and I did that so I wouldn't be dragging it out and having another pin video. And I thought, okay, well, this will be great. We'll get this worked out. And then, yeah. Then I got a box from Mama J, and she gave me a bunch of pins. And she gave me this Geek Fuel pin, and then a collection of the Suicide Squad from the Suicide Squad movie pins, and I very much appreciate that. But that had stacked me up to 4 pins again. And then while Raze was going through some stuff, he found a pin that he had broken a while back, and since he knows several jewelers and everything, and it was an actual simple thing, yeah, he just ran over and said, hey, can you fix this? So boom, Raze has got 5 pins, which is what Raze gauges his pin videos on already. So, not going to say a damn thing, but just know that if Raze doesn't have 5 pins, he's not doing a pin video. He doesn't, just because he's done 2 since he said he was done, doesn't mean that we're back to month pin videos. We're not. When Raze gets some, he will show them off. It just so happens that he got some a second month after saying that this wasn't going to be a regular thing anymore. I can't help it. I don't know what's wrong with me. I just love pins. And yeah. The board's worked up pretty well, and it's not filling. I mean, it's filling pretty fast. So hopefully I don't have to get another pin board, because I'd have to get one that match this fucker, or at least very similar. Thankfully, all 5 of these are pins that, well, since 4 of them were gifts from Mama J, so yeah, I'm gonna keep them just because of that. And the 5th one was a pin that Raze absolutely loved, but broke, and then was able to get fixed. So obviously that's not going on the trade board. So yeah, no trade board in this video. We just need to put this little jackass away, and we need to get into it. So I think we'll start with this one. This is a Geek Fuel pin, and Raze knows nothing about this. He doesn't know what Geek Fuel is. He will probably look it up to find out. This is a numbered pin. It's 242 out of 300. So I don't know if that is significant at all. But if anybody, I'm going to go ahead and look it up. But if anybody watching this knows more about this pin than I do, feel free to let me know in the comments, not the comics. The comics, that's a different day. But yeah, I mean, it's really wicked looking. It's a wicked little demon, devil head. And I don't know if it's supposed to be the devil or just one of the other, independent roaming demons, who's affiliate, who of unknown affiliation. But yeah, it's hard saying. But you know, at this point, this is one that Raze will look into, and we'll find out later. He will like it no matter what, because it's a wicked looking pin. A little too big for Raze to actually be sporting. It's kind of like the Zim, like where it's just like a little too. That's a little big. Which it's right on the cusp of what Raze would wear. I mean, you've got the Joker, you've got the I Love Dairy, you've got the Green Hornet pin. They're all pretty big, and Raze would actually wear those. But like the fig pins, I don't see him wearing. I don't see me wearing those. But this will go nicely right about here, and yeah, just turn these guys a little bit. This doesn't hold very well, so we'll hope that it stays there. But yeah, I will thank Mama J once again, because it's a really cool pin, and I'm glad I got it, and I appreciate that box. And yes, Mama J is awesome. You know it. But yeah, the other thing that she sent me was a 3-pack of pins from the Suicide Squad movie. And there are 3 sets, but Raze, this put Raze in a very awkward position, because Raze hated that movie. It just bugged the crap out of him from start to finish. It was like, okay, let's say we're the bad guys again. Let's just say it. Say we're the bad guys again, because you know that's what the Suicide Squad does. They just wander around saying, "Hey, we're the bad guys. We're the bad guys." Oh God! But it did give us the Margot Robbie Harley Quinn, which nobody is going to argue. I mean, honestly, you know, you've got when you think about the Margot Robbie Harley Quinn and how beloved she is. She was in Suicide Squad, which was a really crappy movie. She got her own movie, which really fell flat as far as, you know, expectation goes. But I mean, it was weird because everybody loved Harley in it, and they loved Margot Robbie as Harley, and they loved watching her. But like, let's face it, that movie wasn't that good. The best movie was The Suicide Squad, because now James Gunn is in charge of this stuff. Obviously, she was too good not to use, and they brought her back in, and she fit right in. I mean, it was perfect the way he utilized her, and like, she was the same character, but like, suddenly she was in a better setting, I guess you'd say. She had better people around her. She had a better story going on in there. And yeah, I was just like, yeah, the only thing that every other movie that has Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn is just Harley Quinn, Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn. That was the only reason to watch the first 2 movies, and even then, watching the first one, you kind of wince a little bit. But by the 3rd movie, it's just kind of like, yes, thank you, we finally got it, and so can't really complain. So Raze didn't want to buy these pins because to actually purchase them would have been showing support with, and I mean, it's not a matter of, oh, if you got it, you must like it. It's just like, okay, I like the pins are okay, but yeah, the movies weren't, and by buying the pins, I would have been putting money towards the movie and telling them, yes, I like this. I don't. But thankfully, Mama J had them, and she sent them to me, probably not realizing quite how much I would appreciate these, because it's not a matter of Raze didn't want them, it's Raze was trying to make a point. And that's how you make a point, is by not spending your money on something. Yeah. And Raze still got it. It says there's 3 pin sets, and as much as Raze would love to get the other 2, He doesn't even know what they look like at this point because he wouldn't look because that would just absolutely drive him nuts. But yes, huge Suicide Squad fan, not a fan of the first movie at all. It was miserable. But yeah, so I'm not gonna go. So yeah, you're probably gonna get some geek trivia here because that's what Raze does, and I mean he's done it with the fig pins, but he's basically he doesn't have a variety of DC pins to talk about, and so you know what's gonna happen. You gave him the opportunity, so he's gonna do it. First up is the most popular and the oldest of the characters, which is Deadshot, which honestly, if you ask me, even with Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn, which was basically the thing. That was the thing. That was what you went to the Suicide Squad movie to see, because even from the previews you knew this is not gonna be anything. And you sure as hell wasn't going to see Jared Leto as frickin' Joker. But Deadshot, knowing there was a Deadshot, that Deadshot was going to be a character in the movie, that should have been the glue that held it together. He's not center stage, and he never should be. But I mean, he started out as a Batman villain way back in like 1950, and when he first appeared, he actually was wearing like a tuxedo and a mask, or a domino mask. Just kind of representing like a stagecoach robber of sorts, and of course that was just a little too whatever. And then by I think his second or third appearance, I want to say second, but he may have appeared more than once in that little getup. Then he had the eye target thing going. It was the gray and red costume, the wrist magnums. That's where he really came into his own, and just became a threat. And he was an amazing mercenary. I remember getting the DC Heroes role-playing game at one point, and he like in one of his notes is that he is so precise in his shots that he could actually use that wrist magnum to fire a shot that would glance off of a light switch to turn lights on, and he could just do that, just bam, I could do that, That's difficult. I mean, just to think, you can shoot at a light switch and you're going to destroy it, but he would be so precise that he could shoot it in such a way that the force of the air movements would flip the switch up. And so I always loved that fact, and I loved him in the Suicide Squad. He wasn't an original member because the original Suicide Squad started way back when your basic teams was having 3 guys and a woman going out on adventures. And I mean, that was the case with basically these 4 to 5 teams of non-powered characters that were doing things when superheroes kind of took a back seat for a while in comics. You would have like a group of adventurers, usually 4 to 5 as a rule, and they would have a gimmick on top of that. The Suicide Squad was the one that would go, and it was led by Colonel Rick Flag, and he's the boring guy in the Suicide Squad movie, and the one that they brought up to the front in the Suicide Squad movie. Everybody's like, oh, he's just boring. And I'm like, unfortunately, that's kind of what he's supposed to be. But they allowed him to fade a little bit more. He should have been a lot stronger, a lot louder, and a lot in your face. I'm like, this is a guy, when they had a Justice League Suicide Squad crossover during the Ostrander run. And they literally had Batman and Colonel Flag, Rick Flag, like basically locked in a physical fight back and forth, and essentially it was a matter of how they broke it up, or how it ended was Mr. Miracle in the Justice League had grabbed Batman's cape and started trying to pull them apart. At the same time, Deadshot shot a shot between them, And the big question was he actually going to shoot one of them, or? And Mr. Miracle pulled Batman out of the way in time, even though that's not what he was intending on doing. And that was the big question: is who was Deadshot trying to shoot, and did he, with his precise accuracy, did he purposely miss, or was the breakup of the fight actually preventing a murder? And when they asked him flat out, he was just like, I guess we'll never know. And yeah, that's how good he was. He was also very, very deranged. Not like the movie at all. I mean, he part of the enjoyment is that he was such a blank slate in general. And he was very few words. When he did speak, it was usually either confusing or, hinting at something worse. But very strong character. He's developed into a very strong character by the end. And he's one of the characters that has been in, after the second iteration of the Suicide Squad, which is what Ostrander pulled in and put Deadshot in. After that, he's kind of been the mainstay. He's been the one who's in there, depending on, different leadership and everything. Deadshot, they always keep bringing back because this is what he fits in. This is what is perfect for him, to where he's not, unless you're going to flat out make him a hired mercenary. I mean, it works so well. At least Ostrander made it work so well. So I hated what they did with him in the movie, because it was more like just I can shoot real good, and I'm a bad guy. And it was kind of like, no, you're like seriously not. And I remember Will Smith talking in an interview that he couldn't get the character until somebody had pointed out that he just liked it. And I'm just like, okay, so you still didn't get it. It's not so much that he likes it, he's just naturally that good. And he's that good, and when you're really good at something, whether you like it or not, you're just going to keep doing it because you are good at it. It's the easy way out. There are lots of things Raze is good at, but he doesn't like doing. So he doesn't continue to do it. He might be good at it, but it's not like he enjoys it. So, if he doesn't enjoy it, he's not going to go for it. And in this case, like, he's just good at it. It makes his life easier to pick up a gun and shoot it with deadly accuracy to get what he wants. And it's not so much that he enjoys it, it's the easy answer. And I could go on and on about Deadshot because he's one of my favorite characters, if you don't put him in that movie. But definitely, if you couldn't tell, Mama J, I'm very happy to have this pen. And don't even know if you're going to watch this video, but I'm going to be talking to you a lot because let you know just how much I actually appreciated you. I appreciated that entire box, and so much so that two videos past that are going to be about something that you sent. The other thing being the packs of trading cards that she sent, because I mean, that wasn't something I couldn't express how much I appreciated those in the video, but I can make a whole make a whole other video and dive into just how much I appreciate them. And so who is next? Okay, sorry about that. Didn't want to give you a coughing fit on camera. I don't know, that just came. I'm not sick. I just don't know where that came from. But where are we going to go next? We're going to go with with Boomerang here, who I understand they shortened the name to Boomerang, but he's actually Captain Boomerang, and he is a character that originally appeared in like 1960, I want to say. He was a Flash villain, and Barbarian is a Flash villain. And he is one of the things that where a character he is a character that nobody likes, and he's not likable, and he's not like that cool. He's a badass, cool bad guy. Like, no, he's not. But like, he's one of those guys that you kind of hate and you kind of wish he wasn't there, but when he's not there, you miss him. You know what I mean? It's like he causes trouble all the time. And he did in the Suicide Squad, and he and Deadshot have been two of the longest running characters in the second iteration of the Suicide Squad and leading into the next. Because yes, he was a Flash villain. They pulled him out, and he basically, if you do this, you'll be scot-free. He was part of the Flash's Rogues Gallery. And like I said, he started out in 1960, and what's really funny about him is that they just basically had Captain Boomerang as the villain. He's gimmicks, he throws the boomerang, all that fun stuff. Because in 1960, boomerangs were a lot more exotic, and it was looked at as a viable weapon. And now, I mean, they sell them to kids. And while you could make a boomerang dangerous, it's not. And just generally speaking, it's not. And yeah, I mean, I know it was used in the wild in Australia. That's where it's from. And the cute thing is, Captain Boomerang, actually, when he first appeared, the first several issues of him appearing in the Flash as his villain, he was American. His origin story is that he came from an American father and an Australian mother, but his father had abandoned the family, and so they have the link there, and they tend to keep him as he's originally from Australia. But like when he first appeared, that wasn't the case. He was just using it as a gimmick. And the whole idea is behind the boomerangs and why he wore the silly little costume with the big scarf and all that fun stuff was it was actually a marketing thing, because he was actually selling boomerangs as to kids as toys. You know, here, check this out, and here is our mascot, Captain Boomerang. But like I said, he's a very he's just not a nice guy, and by any stretch of the imagination. And he while he was using this gimmick to show up to stores and be the mascot and everything, he would also be casing the place. And that's how he basically got started. And since it's comics, and if you could, by wearing the costume and having the name, which was all, you know, basically he was supposed to be a toy mascot, and yeah, it'd be like Tony the Tiger actually, you know, casing the stores. Like that's what the parallel would be. But he kept the Captain Boomerang because he felt that it gave him some kind of notoriety. And, you know, essentially, as time went on, the boomerang thing got less and less interesting as far as being a villain. So eventually he kind of got dropped off, and Ostrander, basically, when he was doing his version of the Suicide Squad, making them the villains, using villains for heroic deeds, he was one that he could just put him on the squad, and he was the dumping ground. I mean, he's the one, like I said, he's been one of the longest members, but he's the guy. Like one of the things they did get right in the Suicide Squad movie is that he does, and they even got it to the point where that is the character, where he talks about the implants in the brain. In the comic, it was actually like a bracelet that was put onto them to keep them from, you know, just trying to desert and run off and you know, get out of prison. And Captain Boomerang tells even the same character, Slipknot, he's like, I don't think it's the case. In the movie, he's just like, yeah, this has got to be crap. That's what they told us, but that's just to keep us in line. In the comic, it was actually several issues in, and he talks to Slipknot, who had just joined. He was the new guy. Boomerang flat out says, you know, hey, this is a situation where, you know, they keep threatening us with this, but I haven't seen anybody use it and everything. And sure enough, like, Slipknot tries to get away, and it blows his arm off, and Captain Boomerang sees him, like, essentially with his arm blown off in the swamp, and leaves him there while he's dying, because it didn't kill him, it just blew his arm off. So there he is, laying there with his arm blown off, and obviously in need of serious medical attention. And Captain Boomerang's just like, well, we know that's not a joke anymore, and walks back. You know, he doesn't let anybody know, just says he gets lost in the swamp. I mean, yeah, a pretty sad ending to the character of Slipknot. But I mean, come on, he was Slipknot. His whole gimmick was, nooses and being able to lasso things, and he was a villain of Firestorm who could change the atomic structure of stuff. It was and he can become intangible. What are you gonna do with your little ropes? But yeah, that was a way of getting rid of a D-list villain, and it really showed more about the character of Captain Boomerang, and even then, like, he had a thing where he was like basically throwing pies, and this was an ongoing thing in the comics where somebody would get hit by a cream pie in the comic, and nobody knew who the pie flinger was. And Captain Boomerang's even one of the first people that gets hit with a pie, but that was just to throw people off the trail. It was actually him working out his aggressions. And later on in the series, like, just to show you how much of a degenerate he actually is, he actually, okay, well, in the beginning, when the squad first appeared in that thing, they were brought together. You know, you do this mission, you survive, you basically get a pardon. And so he goes on the mission, and then he's released, and it was during the events of Legends, that the crossover known as Legends. And what does Boomerang do? Because he's almost immediately caught, because he's running around in costume during a time when they're trying to put superheroes down. Doesn't matter that he's a bad guy. Like, they're just like, we don't want these superpowered idiots, destroying everything. And so he's actually put on a stage, and they're going to make an example of him. And as he's standing there and with this national audience, he just screams into the camera that, hey, I was involved in a very secret organization, and if they don't want me to say who they are, they better come and fix me. So the Suicide Squad had to go in and retrieve Captain Boomerang, but at the same time, now they know they can't let him go. So he had gotten his freedom, but he was kind of locked with them because they didn't trust him to go out and do anything. And as long as he was with them, he couldn't return to his criminal ways. Unless, of course, later on in the comics, when he finally talks his way into being able to live off, because, they were based in Belle Reve prison, so they basically had to live in the prison, and he talks his way out of some of the other people actually are allowed to have apartments. And they feel that, he basically says, hey, I've been a good boy this entire time, even though he has been flinging pies at people, but that nobody knows that yet. He talks them into letting him live off-site. And he's always got they basically, they're keeping tabs on him, but they're just like, okay, I guess you've earned it. And what does this sleazebag do? Like I said before, he was part of the Flash's Rogues Gallery, and one of the characters in there who had passed on was Mirror Master. And since all the Flash's Rogues, like, there weren't a lot of people with powers, they were just people with, like, gimmicky weapons. Yeah, Boomerang got a hold of Mirror Master's costume and equipment, and decided to rob banks that way, which I've gone on before about how dumb it is to have that kind of technology and use it to rob banks. But yeah, essentially, he gets caught, and what he doesn't understand is that it was already figured out. So at one point, they have caught him as Mirror Master, and say, well, we're not going to unmask you, but if you do this mission, we'll just go ahead and let you go. And they're like, and he agrees to it because he's like, they pull the mask off and see that it's me, then I have to stay in the prison. I have to live in the prison still. And at the same time, they're like, hey, where is Captain Boomerang? He needs to be here for this mission. So he basically does this quick change thing throughout the whole thing of of fighting in this mission, which is not even a real mission, because they already know that he's doing this because he's been watched, and they start talking about this since it's based in around New Orleans. They create this whole voodoo cult idea, and they put him in one of the cemeteries and make it look like everybody's being turned into zombies, while he's trying to switch back and forth, in the costume. It's all for his benefit, and yeah, they basically bust him out so blatantly, so bad. It was like, yeah, you lose your apartment, you live in the prison, you do not get out now. You are stuck with us. And so he was the guy who wasn't allowed to leave, didn't like being there, nobody wanted him there, but if they turn him loose, he's going to expose them. And and yeah, he doesn't want to be there, but they can't trust him not to spill on him, because the minute he's in danger, he's going to use that as a bargaining chip. So yeah, he is one of the sleaziest characters in there, and that makes up for the fact that he is mostly useless. But yeah, plenty to talk about. But yeah, he's obnoxious, but you end up loving the fact that he's there. Even he's on a love to hate that is so close to hate that he steps over that line several times. Which brings us to the strangest character. And, I didn't really like the way they utilized her in the movie. Yes, she is a witch. Yes, she's from another dimension. All that other stuff that they did in the movie just made no sense. And she doesn't even look like that. She basically looked like a witch. And her first appearance was in like Strange Adventures, in the mid '60s, which was a science fiction book, and they had this witch, and she just kind of came out, and she like stopped a little crime, and it's like, oh, fine and good, that's fun, and yeah, it was like they did like two like I don't know, so backup issues in a Supergirl comic. And that's how she spent the 60s and 70s. I think maybe 4 appearances where, they just didn't know what to do with her. But they hinted that when she turned into the Enchantress, she wasn't June Moon, who is the woman who, basically has the body. She can switch into the Enchantress. And, at first she can do it and she has a lot of control. And, she only had 4 appearances, but they had already hinted that, she, the more she changes, the less control she has over the, over Enchantress. June Moon doesn't have control over the Enchantress. Enchantress is her own person, and she gets stronger the more they let her out. And, so she's part of a group called the Forgotten Villains, which was fought by who went up against the Forgotten Heroes, which it was just a group of people who had stories years ago, but like were not really in favor. They just kind of grouped them together and was like, hey, can we make this work if we use all their popularity together? And that didn't work. So they didn't have a problem when Ostrander wanted to use her for the Suicide Squad. And the whole thing was, at that point, she's saying she has less and less control over the Enchantress when she lets her out. And it's scarier and scarier. So they keep her in a manner of, it's basically you deal with June Moon, and like when she has to let the Enchantress out, she does. And this works for a little while, and the Enchantress was hit or miss. Initially, she tries to immediately go out, but like they're also trying to teach June Moon how to control her to the point of, you know, being able to turn back instead of waiting for the Enchantress to say the word to... When she says Enchantress, that's how she turns into the Enchantress, and that's how the Enchantress turns back to June Moon. And trying to get somebody to say their own name, especially if they're like super magical and she's very powerful. Not only would she have less control over the Enchantress the more she turned into her, but the Enchantress would be more powerful. And so that was a slow build that happened throughout the series where they didn't want to use Enchantress, but when they did, she got more and more harder and harder to control. And yeah, it was just like they wanted to use obscure characters that wouldn't be. I think the funniest part about, or the most fun thing about that Suicide Squad movie, the series, John Ostrander's Suicide Squad series, was that they would use these obscure characters and villains and everything. And if a character just wasn't working, they had the perfect opportunity to just take them out. Like, even in the very first appearance of them there. It's like, hey, nobody's going to care if we get rid of this person. But when he would write the personalities in there, if that was what would appeal to you and you would enjoy reading about that character, and he could build it into more than what was there before, then you got your reoccurring characters. And if something wasn't work, he'd just kill it off. And yeah, it was a really great way of building a team as far as that goes, because to kill them off when nobody cared about them to begin with, it was like, okay, we're free and clear. It's like, if nobody's going to care if you kill them off, nobody's going to care if you alter them and give them more depth than they've had in the previous comics. So yes, I have gotten to talk a lot about the Enchantress and Captain Boomerang and Deadshot, because that's what Raze does. And he's going to put this pin up here. Kind of up in the air if he's going to, like, I guess if he finds the other sets, like, just kind of randomly, depending on what it is, it'll be a case by case. I wouldn't mind having the entire set, but again, it's not a movie I particularly enjoy, but I love the source material so much that I don't think if I bought it now, it would make anybody think that there's a resurgence for the Suicide Squad. Huh. So, after I have talked about all these characters, all these pins, Raze now goes to the 5th pin, which was the one he's had the longest of all these pins, but never put it on the board because it was broken. And yeah, Raze doesn't have to talk a lot about this because he's kind of a regular on this channel. He is Pennywise, and this is a pin that has the chain holding the I Love Dairy balloon, which is so freaking awesome. I wish it was the Tim Curry Pennywise, but like, this is cool enough that, yeah, I had to get it anyway. Because yes, it's, I mean, there's, you know, pins on both, so you can, however you want to do it on your, if you use it, I mean, it's just fun. And, yeah, this was a must-have. And I was heartbroken because one of these links broke, and I didn't have the balloon on there. So yeah, once I got that fixed and cleared up, it was really easy to want to put this on the board, and that's what we're gonna do. I think since he's got the balloon, I think we'll put the balloon up here in the smaller space, and then just let the chain go, and we'll put Pennywise under there, under the fig pin, so that'll work pretty well. And of course, I don't have to go on about how much I love Pennywise, because this video's already way longer than they usually are, because you got Raze talking about comic book characters and obscure comic book characters at that. And you know, once you get him started, it's hard to get him to stop. He can't do it. That's why he's got a YouTube channel. Is because he knew, basically, he has to get this out before he inflicts this on people in real life. That's what he does. So, somebody should get some enjoyment out of it. And if they're out there, there it is. But I so want to say that's it for the pin videos, but I can't say for sure. As of right now, Raze does not have any pins that are not on this board or the trade board. He is starting from zero, and we'll see how long that lasts. But before I want to get out of here, I do want to thank Mama J for sending me that box, because it obviously, she couldn't possibly have known how much I was going to enjoy that box. But I absolutely did, and gave me an opportunity to talk about a couple characters I haven't had the opportunity to talk about in any of my other videos. But so yeah, that's. I'm not gonna say that's it for the pin videos, but if you are interested in more of the backstories of other comic book characters, Raze is an overflowing well of crap like that. And it shows in all his other videos. So if this is your first time checking this out, welcome. Sorry. If this is the first time experiencing Raze Chaos, he can be a little much. But yeah, mostly comic book stuff, a lot of horror stuff, because that's what Raze is. He is a horror comic that walks in the day. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and get out of here now, but never forget, life is full of odd moments. You never know when you're going to be defined.